My name is Chris Gaffney. I am the Executive Director at Parkinson's Support and Wellness. We are the local organization here in town dedicated to serving Parkinson's patients, their families and loved ones, and also the general community in matters surrounding Parkinson's disease. Uh, each month, we host a webinar on topics of import to people in our Parkinson's community. We call it PD-EDU. You know that because you found your way here. We thank everybody for taking their time on Saturday morning to register. Um, just a little quick housekeeping. Everyone's mic has been muted, so we won't have a lot of background noise going on. I have the ability to do that mute, so if for some reason you come off of mute, the microphone, I'll be able to check that. If everyone would move their cursor on their screen a little bit, you'll see a row of icons that show up on the bottom of your screen, one of which says chat. And if you click on that, it should open up a view on the side of your screen. We'll use that for any questions. If you do have a question to ask of our presenter, you can just type it in where it says message everyone. At the end of our presentation, we will ask those questions of Colleen, our speaker, and we will endeavor to get them all answered. Thanks everyone for coming. This morning, our topic is what is balance. Our presenter is Colleen Schuster. Colleen is co-director of NeuroFit Gym and has been since its inception back in 2019. She's certified in Rocksteady Boxing, Delay the Disease, Love Your Brain Yoga, and others. And we appreciate the work that they do and the community that they're building on the north side of our service area. And Colleen does have a presentation, so you'll be seeing that shortly. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and toss it over to Colleen. Colleen,
Sounds
all,
great. Thank
all
you.
yours.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me okay?
We
Yes.
can.
Coming through? Okay, awesome. Yes, thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to be here to talk to you guys about balance. There's a lot to unpack, so we'll kind of take our time and just go through it together and then take any questions at the end if that's okay with everyone. So, first slide here is Albert Einstein, and he says, life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving. So, we're going to dive into that as we go along. So, what is balance? Well, it's a noun and a verb. So, now as a noun, it's your physical equilibrium. It's the stability produced by even distribution on each side of a vertical axis. The verb means to poise or arrange as if in balance or to bring to a state or position of balance. So balance starts with good posture. If you look on the left side of your screen, or actually right in the center, there's an imaginary plumb line. And if someone has good posture, that plumb line starts just behind the apex of the top of the head, goes through the center of the ear, through the upper cervical vertebral bodies, through the middle of the back, so the center of the thorax, and then through the lumbar vertebral bodies, just behind the axis of the hip joint, just in front of the knee joint, and then just in front of the ankle. So you think of building blocks sitting on top of one another. If those building blocks are all stacked up in a straight line, they're not going to fall. When the center sits one way or the other, that sets off the equilibrium and the posture, which could lead to falls. So just an example of good posture versus bad postures. Good posture, you can see that red line going straight up and down. That's your imaginary plumb line. An anterior pelvic tilt is very similar to the lordotic posture. So your pelvis is tilted anteriorly and you have an extra curve in your back or an accentuated curve in your lower back. Flat back posture means you're more in a posterior pelvic tilt. So your pelvis is tilted a little bit backwards. The kyphotic posture comes from the upper back. So your thoracic is curved forward. And then that anterior head carriage means that your head is forward when you're walking or moving. So the Parkinsonian posture is common. It's pronounced by the stooped posture, which is a forward flexion of your trunk, head, and neck. You have an excessive curvature of the spine in the upper back or thoracic region. This is called a kyphosis. There can be an excessive curvature of the spine in the lower back or the lumbar region, which is lordosis. On top of that, the rigid posture, the stiffness and resistance to movement in the muscles of the trunks and the limbs. And then oftentimes foot drop is the difficulty lifting the front part of the foot due to weakness in the muscles that dorsiflex the ankle. And we'll dive into that a little bit as we go along. So why do we have the Parkinson's posture? Well, there are the neurochemical imbalances. So there's the dopamine deficiency, which is the hallmark of Parkinson's, and it affects the brain's ability to control posture and movement. There's muscle weakness involved, so muscles that maintain posture can become weak, leading to stooping and other postural abnormalities. Rigidity, which is that increased muscle tone, can make it difficult to stand upright and maintain good posture. And then there are sensory impairments involved. So loss of balance, proprioception. Proprioception is your awareness of where your body is in space, can also contribute to postural instability. So how poor posture affects your balance and center of gravity. So here you have the pictures kind of stacked, or the packages stacked on top of each other. There's a displacement of mass. So if you have a forward head posture, for instance, that adds weight to the upper body, which can alter your overall center of gravity. You have altered muscular engagement. This means that to maintain your balance with a new weight distribution, such as a forward head, the muscles have to work harder and in different patterns, which changes how the body balances itself. And then you have the body's mechanical balance. So while the definition of center of gravity remains the same, the way that the body's mass is distributed changes with posture, affecting its mechanical balance point. So we have a little video here that I'm going to share. It's about 3 minutes. And
Hi, I'm Amy
we have to
Poehler,
get
and
through
I'm standing
the
in front of a bunch
ads
of books,
first.
which means I'm smart and you have something to learn from me. Let's get started. In my class, we're
center of gravity and base of support. Have you ever wondered how we maintain balance while walking, running, or simply standing still? Our ability to maintain balance or stability is primarily dependent on the relationship between the body's center of gravity and its base of support. Let's dive into these two concepts. The center of gravity, COG. The center of gravity, COG, is a point in space where the entire body's mass behaves as if it is concentrated there. The center of gravity varies from person to person, but on average, when standing upright, it is located in the body midline in front of the lumbar vertebrae, L1, 2, 3. However, this point can shift depending on an individual's body shape, posture, and position. For instance, when you bend forward or backward, your center of gravity moves accordingly. The base of support, BOS. The body's base of support, BOS, refers to the area or part of the body that is in contact with the supporting surface, such as the ground or a floor. Were you to trace the outline of the body where it touches the ground, you would define the base of support. It is the foundation that provides stability and balance to the body when standing or performing various movements. For example, the wider the stance when standing, the larger the base of support becomes, whereas a narrow stance reduces the size of the base of support. This is why it's challenging to maintain weight distribution when standing with feet close together, as it requires keeping the center of gravity on a small support base. What happens when we lose balance? Losing balance occurs when the body's center of gravity moves outside the base of support, which significantly affects the ability to maintain balance. When this happens, two options arise, either falling to the ground or taking a step forward to increase the base of support. Low center of gravity versus high center of gravity. Another crucial factor influencing balance is the distance between your center of gravity and your base of support. The rule here is simple. The lower your center of gravity, the more stable you are. And conversely, the higher your center of gravity is, the less stable you are and the easier it is to topple over if pushed. Low center of gravity, sumo wrestler. In sumo wrestling, wrestlers purposefully lower their center of gravity by adopting a deep, wide-legged stance. This low center of gravity and increased base of support provide exceptional stability, making it incredibly challenging for opponents to push and topple them over during a match. High center of gravity, tiptoe balancing. When balancing on tiptoes, the center of gravity is much higher above the ground, making it prone to instability. Maintaining stability requires constant effort and control. Balancing on tiptoes vividly demonstrates how a high center of gravity increases instability and the risk of toppling over compared to a lower center of gravity stance.
All right. So we'll go back to the PowerPoint. I thought that was a really good video just to describe center of gravity and base of support, because I think that with posture, they're so interrelated that your center of gravity with your posture, with your base of support is so interrelated with your balance, overall balance, that it's just important to kind of understand those concepts. So again, just to reiterate, your center of gravity is the exact balance point of your body. So this is different for everybody. Your base of support is the area beneath you that touches the ground. And you maintain your balance as long as your center of gravity stays over your base of support. So this slide kind of shows the base of support with standing, walking, and then with the use of a walker or an assistive device. So you can see that with that person on the right leaning forward, their center of gravity has changed and their base of support has changed. So, as a physical therapist, we're always watching people when they're walking, especially when they're using an assistive device. And often we see people trying to push that walker too far out in front. And then that you can see in this picture how that changes their center of gravity. So that's why it's so important to keep that walker with it close to your body within your base of support, because that just makes your base of support larger. When it's out too far ahead of you, that changes your center of gravity, which leads to increased risk of falling. So, balance is a complex process that depends on the integration of lots of different body systems working together to keep you upright, steady, and oriented in space. So, we're going to dive into the different systems that help you with your balance. So, the first system is sensory input. This is visual, vestibular, and proprioceptive. These systems work together with the brain selecting which information to prioritize based on conditions, and then they generate appropriate motor responses that keep your body stable. So this slide kind of breaks down each system and what it's for. So your visual system is your spatial awareness, like where you are in space, depth and motion, your gaze stabilization, Your eyes tell you where you are in relation to your surroundings, and they help you detect movement and maintain stabilization. Your proprioceptive system is your motor control, pressure, stretch cues, postural control, and it detects shifts in your body position. And then your vestibular system is linear and rotational movement, your equilibrium, gravity. This is located in your inner ear, and it sends signals to the brain to help coordinate your eye and your body movements. So we're going to dive into each one of these. So your visual system, again, provides information about your head and your body's orientation related to your surroundings, and it detects movement between you and the environment. The role and balance is that it helps you see where you are going, obviously, helps you avoid obstacles, stay stable, especially in predictable conditions. So that's, walking around your house, where your obstacles typically are, you know that your floor is flat, it's predictable. Your vestibular system is located in the inner ear. It senses head movements like acceleration and position changes. The role and balance is that it detects these circular motions and linear motions and sends this information to the brain, which then integrates it with the other sensory input to help maintain a stable orientation. So here's kind of a picture of your balance system in action. You can see there's a lot going on, but this is your vestibular balance system. So that's, again, part of the inner ear, and it sends information to the head motion and orientation to the brain for processing. And then that in turn sends information out to your muscles to help you maintain your balance. The proprioceptive system uses receptors in your muscles, your tendons, your joints, and your skin to provide feedback on the position and movement of your limbs and body, including pressure on the soles of your feet. So with Parkinson's disease, a lot of times your proprioceptive system is impacted, and you may feel like you're straight, but you're actually leaning over just a little bit, maybe to the left or to the right or back or forward. And unless you're looking in a mirror, you may not realize that you're not straight because your proprioceptive system is impacted. So it's important for balance because it informs the brain about your posture and how your feet and legs are positioned relative to the ground and allows for quick postural adjustments. So the second system is the CNS, or your central nervous system. This is central processing, your brain, and your spinal cord. So sensory input and the central nervous system work together. The brain, specifically the central nervous system, receives and integrates signals from visual, proprioception, and your vestibular systems. The brain and the spinal cord process these symbols and coordinate appropriate muscle responses to maintain your balance. And the balance systems is highly redundant, meaning that the brain can rely more on one or two systems if another is compromised. So if you get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and it's dark, your balance system is relying on proprioception more than vision. Okay. The third system is motor output. So once the brain decides how to respond, it sends signals to the muscles to make quick adjustments. These muscle responses help you stay upright, shift your weight, recover from loss of balance, and walk smoothly and safely. So here's kind of a slide of how it all works together. You have your sensory input, which is your vestibular, your visual, your proprioception. They integrate into the cerebellum and the cerebral cortex. They also send messages to your brainstem. And then that goes to the motor, which is your vestibular ocular reflex, your motor impulses to make postural adjustments and control eye movements. So there's a lot going on. Okay, other influences for your postural system, muscle and joint flexibility, joint mobility, reaction time, postural alignment, and your cognition and attention, especially important for dual tasking like walking while talking. So a lot of times in therapy, we practice a lot of dual tasking. You know, we might be tossing a ball while we're walking or tossing a ball back and forth to a friend while you're walking and talking, just to practice that dual tasking. Why does balance matter? Well, obviously, it helps prevent falls and injuries, helps you maintain your independence, supports mobility and confidence, and enhances quality of life. Causes of balance problems could be age-related changes, neurological disorders such as stroke, Parkinson's, traumatic brain injury, muscle weaknesses or joint stiffness, vision or vestibular deficits. Medications can cause balance problems, environmental hazards, you know, the rugs that slip underneath you, stairs without a railing, foot pain and improper footwear, dizziness or low blood pressure, lack of exercise or mobility, and vertigo. So, just a little note about vertigo. Every year, millions of people in the US develop vertigo. Vertigo is a feeling that you or your surroundings are spinning. The sensation can be alarming and may increase the risk of falling. Benign paroxysmal positional vertigo, or BPPV, is one of the most common types of vertigo. So if you have BPPV, you're not alone. At least 9 out of every 100 older adults are affected by it. The good news is that it is treatable. Your physical therapist will use tests to confirm vertigo, and then you would see a specialized physical therapist in vertigo treatments. They do certain head motions, give you certain exercises to do at home that helps to rearrange the crystals in your ear, which in turn helps the vertigo. Okay, so how do we improve our balance? First of all, exercise regularly. So focusing on strength, flexibility, training like yoga, Tai Chi are excellent balance training. Review your medications. Some can cause dizziness or drowsiness, so it's important to know what those medications are. Keep your prescriptions updated for your vision and your hearing. And then home safety, remove trip hazards, install grab bars, install lighting, improve lighting, especially at night. If you get up to go to the bathroom, having a little night light will help that environment. Okay, so we're going to focus on the exercise. So exercise can help you maintain your balance and avoid falls. Your bones, your heart, your brain, they all want you to exercise. So we're going to go into what muscles we need to exercise for good balance and why. So I'm going to present the 6-pack of balance, and this is not the 6-pack of a weightlifter, but it is the 6-pack of muscles that you need for good balance. The core musculature, the quads, the hamstrings, the gluteus medius, calf complex, and the anterior tibialis. So we're going to dive into each one of these. The core muscles are not just your abdominal muscles, they are actually your entire trunk. So the muscles in and around the trunk that help move, support, and stabilize the pelvis, spine, and trunk are typically referred to as the core. This includes muscles in the abdomen, the middle back, lower back, and your pelvic floor. So your core includes also your lumbo-pelvic hip complex. And this complex is made up of approximately 35 different muscles that work together as a team. So the core can be represented as a muscular box with the following. You have the abdominals on the front side, the paraspinals and the gluteals on the back side, the diaphragm on the roof, and the pelvic floor and hip girdle muscles on the bottom. Within this box, there are 29 sets of muscles that continue to balance out the spine, pelvis, and your motor chain. Without these muscles, the spine would become mechanically unstable with compressive forces less than the weight of the upper body. Why is the core important for balance? So the core muscles help you support your spine and pelvis, keeping your body stable. They also help transfer movement and strength between your upper and your lower body while protecting your back from too much stress. So these are some exercises that we can do to strengthen the core. First one is called the Palloff press. So basically you're holding a band that's tied to a doorknob or something stationary, a heavy object. You're taking it out away and stretching it, and then just basically pushing your arms forward and back. You can add some rotation to this, one direction and then the other direction. We also, a lot of times at the gym, will do the unilateral farmer's walk and hold. So this is basically walking like you're carrying a heavy dumbbell. You could, think of it as a suitcase, carrying an object on one side. You can switch it to the other side, and that is going to work on strengthening the core. Planks are another excellent exercise. You can see in this slide that they're modified. So you can do them against a table, a stable table that's up against a wall, obviously, that you're not going to push over. The next step would be being on your elbows and your knees. And then the next step would be a full plank up on your hands and toes. So the next muscle group is the quad muscle. So the quad muscle is basically made up of 4 muscles. We always just think of the quad as one, but it's basically 4. So the rectus femoris, which you see right there on top, is the only quad muscle with 2 heads, and it crosses 2 joints. So it crosses the hip and the knee joint to assist with both knee extension and hip flexion. The rectus femoris passes down the front of your thigh and ends at its attachment point on the kneecap or the patella. The vastus intermedius in the center sits deepest next to your thigh bone or your femur and extends vertically down the center of your thigh and is partially covered by that rectus femoris. The vastus lateralis is the largest quad muscle. It begins at the top of your outer thigh and attaches down at the patella. When well developed, it creates that outward sweeping shape to your thigh. And the vastus medialis runs along the inside of your thigh and forms that teardrop contour above your knee when it's well defined. So why are the quads important for balance? So this is a picture of my nephew, Pete. He was a senior football player last year at Baden, and he's going to be playing football at Bowling Green. So if you see the number 61, you can say you kind of know him because he's my nephew. But I asked him if I could borrow this picture because he's a football player. But the quads are quite powerful, and they work in coordination with other lower body muscles, such as the glutes and the hamstrings, to control movements and shift your body weight. Strong quads contribute to better posture as they help align the body's center of gravity over your base of support, reducing the risk of falls and improving overall balance. During dynamic movements like jumping or cutting, the quads provide essential support and control, allowing for smooth and coordinated motion. Some quad strengthening exercises. This is the simple seated knee extension. You can add weights to this or bands. Step ups is another good strengthening quad exercise. And then you have the normal squats with or without weights, holding on to an object, not holding on to an object, and then lunges, forward, backward, and side to side. So the next muscle group is the hamstrings. Let me get to my right paper here. The hamstring is composed of 3 muscles. The medial hamstrings are the semitendinosus and the semimembranosus. The lateral are the biceps femoris, short and long heads. So the medial hamstrings are most active during movements of knee flexion. If you're boxing and we say do your butt kickers, this is the muscle that you're primarily using. It also extends the hip with the knee flexed at 90 degrees. So conversely, the lateral hamstrings are most active during movements of hip extension with the knee fully extended. So why are these important for balance? The hamstrings play a critical role by stabilizing the knee joint during movements like bending or straightening the knee. Along with the quads, they distribute forces evenly, ensuring joint alignment and stability for increased balance. They control dynamic body movements such as lunges and squats, which improves overall balance and stability. And then the hamstrings contribute to the proprioception, the ability to sense where your joint is in space, enhancing the body's awareness of position and movement. Strengthening the hamstrings is also important. So just like the quads, we want to work the hamstrings in a way that effectively utilizes their primary functions, which is knee flexion and hip extension. So doing the rolls on the ball, you can see that it's working both knee flexion and hip extension. We have the standing hamstrings curl, standing hip extension, Romanian deadlift, and you can add bands to all of those or weights to make them a little bit more challenging. And at the end of the presentation, I have a link to all of these exercises so that you can have them all. Okay, so the next important muscle for balance is your gluteus medius. So your glute muscle is actually made up of three muscles: the gluteus maximus, the gluteus medius, and the gluteus minimus. As its name indicates, the gluteus maximus is the largest of these muscles, but the smaller glute med and glute min are just as necessary for proper movement of the hip and leg. Why is this gluteus medius so important for balance? Well, it stabilizes your pelvis during various activities like walking or standing on one leg. It ensures your body remains upright over your base of support by keeping your pelvis level. It provides stability during dynamic movements like changing direction, and it controls hip movements in multiple planes, especially on uneven terrain. So if you've ever watch someone walk and notice that their hip kind of drops on one side or the other when they're walking, that is called a Trendelenburg gait. And that typically is because they have a weak gluteus medius on one side versus the other. So that gluteus medius is not able to stabilize the pelvis in that neutral position while they're walking. So when they take a step and they're weight bearing on that side, that pelvis typically drops. So the glute med does play the key role in dynamic stability during changing directions, transitioning between positions, walking. So strengthening exercises like the sideline hip abduction, the clamshell, standing hip abduction with or without bands or weights, the single leg bridge, tandem stance, and lateral band walks all help to strengthen that glute med muscle, which is so important. All right, the fifth muscle group is the calf complex. So this calf complex is made up of two muscles and a tendon. So the gastroc, the soleus, and your Achilles tendon. The calf complex is also known as the triceps surae, which is a group of muscles located along the lower back of your leg. It primarily consists of these two main muscles called the gastroc and the soleus. And then in some people, it has a third muscle, a small third muscle called the plantaris. Why are these important for balance? So the calf complex is integral for balance as it stabilizes your ankle joint, controlling movements like dorsiflexion, the foot going up, plantar flexion, the foot going down. These muscles provide solid foundation for maintaining equilibrium by adjusting your body alignment and distributing the weight effectively. Additionally, they also contribute to your proprioception, again, knowing where your body is in space. They enhance your body's awareness of its position and are able to facilitate quick adjustments to maintain your balance. Strengthening the calf muscles include heel raises with a bent knee, single leg raise, stair climbing, and a heel dip to a raise. So those you could do like on the edge of your steps at home, you dipping your heels down and then raising them up. The last muscle group is the anterior tib muscle. So this is a muscle in the front of the lower leg responsible for dorsiflexion or lifting the foot. It stabilizes the ankle and controls your foot descent during activities like walking or running, and also contributes to the lower leg strength and stability. Why do we need the anterior tib? Well, it stabilizes your ankle, raises your foot for heel strike, controls the descent of the foot. It helps to maintain proper alignment and prevents excessive forward movement of the ankle, which is essential for stability during standing, walking, and other weight-bearing activities. And like I said before, it also controls the descent of the foot, providing support and balance control during movements such as stepping and landing. Strengthening the anterior tib can improve ankle stability, enhance proprioception, and ultimately contribute to better balance and reduce risk of falls or injuries. Strengthening the anterior tib includes toe raises, resisted dorsiflexion with a weight or a band, doing heel taps in front. If a lot of times in boxing class, we'll say we're doing toe taps behind, heel taps in front, and we're working on the anterior tib and then also the calf muscles just to work on the ankle. Okay, so is falling a normal part of aging? The answer is no, it is not. Many people think that falling is normal as you age, but most falls can be prevented, and you have the power to reduce your risk. So the next big question is, can you learn how to fall safely? And this is, I don't know. It's an interesting topic because a lot of people say, yes, you can learn how to fall safely. In my opinion, you can do things to minimize the risk of injury when you fall. Can you truly learn how to fall safely in every condition? I don't know, because your brain and your body and your reactions take over when you fall. For instance, we were hiking in Montana and I tripped over a tree limb and fell and fractured a bone in my wrist. I didn't see the tree limb. My foot caught it as I was walking, and my instinct is to outstretch my arm, right, and place it to break my fall, which is what I did. In that time, in that moment of reaction, am I going to think to pull my arms in and kind of lead with my shoulder and roll? I don't know. That depends on everybody's individual reaction time. Obviously, it didn't work for me because I fell and fractured a bone. But man, I think I'm out of order here for a second. There we go. Can you learn how to fall safely? Yes and no. Research suggests that people can do things to reduce the risk and severity during a fall, but no technique makes every fall safe. So it depends on the person's age, strength, reaction time, health conditions. Do you have osteoporosis, neurological conditions, and the type of fall? Okay, I'm going to go back here a little bit. So when your center of gravity is outside of your base of support, one of two things happen. Either you fall or you take a step to increase that base of support. Just going back to that video, how you saw the skeleton take an extra step forward or backward to increase the base of support to prevent the fall. There's not enough evidence to say that everyone can fall safely in real life situations. Unexpected falls happen quickly, and not everyone has enough time to react. So for older adults and people with neurological conditions, the focus is often on fall harm reduction rather than fall safely. So practice getting up and down from the floor. Improve your balance, improve your strength, improve your reaction time. Learning protective stepping and reaching strategies can help, and modifying the home environment to reduce fall hazards. So this is, grab bars, stair rails, removing loose rugs, removing loose carpeting, anything like that that can modify to help reduce the risk of falls. When you feel yourself falling, relax your body. The first instinct will be to tense up or reach your arm out to prevent your fall, but keeping your body loose and limp will allow it to better absorb and disperse the energy of the fall. Exhaling sharply as you fall can also help you relax. Bending your arms and knees, so avoid landing on that locked or outstretched arm or leg, which can easily lead to broken wrists, elbows, and knees. Keep them bent with a little bit of give to cushion the impact. Another thing to think about is lowering your center of gravity. If you feel yourself losing your balance, immediately try to crouch down. So the shorter the distance that you fall, the less force your body will absorb on impact. So think of that sumo wrestler with the low center of gravity. And always try to protect your head. Head injuries are the most serious and should try to be avoided at all costs. Aim for the meaty parts. Try to position your body to land on areas with more natural padding, such as your buttocks, your thighs, your upper back. Try to avoid landing on your hip, tailbone, elbows, and knees. And then roll with the fall. The safest way to handle a fall is to convert the downward momentum into a rolling motion. By rolling, you spread the impact across a larger surface area of your body rather than concentrating it on a certain point. So a lot of times if we practice getting up and down off the floor at the gym, or we don't really ever practice a safe fall, but we will practice these different motions to try to reduce the impact of the fall. But we're at the gym, we're using a mat that's cushioned. So we have a chair close by. So none of those situations is your real life situation or fall. So trying to think of all these things when you fall is a good idea, but is it always realistic? Maybe, maybe not. So some things to do if you do have a fall. Once you've fallen, perform a quick body scan before you even attempt to stand up. A lot of times when someone falls, even if you're out in the community and someone falls, the first thing everyone wants to rush and try to help them stand up right away. But give them a minute to catch their breath. Do a body scan. Are you hurt? Are you okay? Look, do you see any blood? Do you see, any cuts anywhere? And stay still for a moment. Take a few deep breaths. It's, embarrassing to fall in public, but a lot of people do. And it's okay to stay and sit still for a moment. Take a few deep breaths. It's okay to be assertive and tell people, hold on, give me a minute. Let me just sit here for a second. Let me make sure I'm okay. Check for any serious pain, bleeding, head injuries. If you feel significantly hurt or feel dizzy, stay on the floor and call for help. If you can get up safely, roll onto your hands and knees and crawl to a sturdy piece of furniture. Place one foot flat on the floor in kind of that half kneel position, and then use the furniture to help push yourself up slowly. A lot of times, like I said, the first instinct is when someone falls is for everyone to rush and try to grab them and help them up. But actually letting them get up on their own is probably the safest way you can do it. Because if you're pulling on someone and say they have a shoulder injury or a back injury or, even a sore neck, then you might do them more harm and you might hurt yourself by trying to lift them. So the best thing you can do is let them stay still for a second, check. If they're able and capable, allow them to get on their hands and knees, bring a piece of furniture close by, a folding chair, or have them crawl to a piece of furniture and then go into that half kneel position. Okay, so reducing your fall risk, exercise. It's never too late. You do lose muscle as you age, but exercise can partially restore strength and flexibility. It's never too late to start. Becoming active now will benefit you in many ways, including protection from falls. Have your vision checked once a year, manage your medications, check the side effects, and make your living environment safe. If you have any questions about that, we can definitely go over that. Final thoughts. Balance is a skill and it can be improved. Most falls are preventable. Stay active, stay aware, stay safe. Um, Another comment about falls, a lot of times at the gym, we practice sit to stand. We practice turning all the way to sit in the chair. Um, a lot of times people get very anxious when they get close to the chair. They start the little fascinating steps with your gait. Um, you have to stop, put your heels down, take a deep breath when you come up close to the chair. Think about turning all the way around so that your back of your legs are touching that chair. If you're reaching outside your base of support to grab the armrest of the chair, even though the chair is right there, there's an increased risk of falls because your center of gravity is now outside that base of support. And you may think, well, I'm close enough. I can just scoot on over. But getting close to the chair, turning all the way around so that you have the backs of your legs against the back of the chair, and then reaching back for the armrest or the seat of the chair is the safest way to sit down. And we talk about this over and over and over again at the gym because people will get, maybe a foot away from the chair and think, oh, okay, I'm close enough. But the minute you reach outside to grab that chair, again, your center of gravity is outside your base of support. So that's going to increase your risk of falls. Okay, so while we can't prevent every fall, we can train our bodies to respond better. We can improve strength, balance, reaction time, learn protective movement strategies to help reduce the risk of falls and serious injury if a fall does occur. And then if anyone wants to take a picture of this page, you're welcome to do that. I can also send the link out to Chris or Becky in an email. But this is a link to all of the exercise program, all of the exercises that I talked about today. So you can scan the QR code. You can go to the website. And if you go to the MedBridge website, you would type in that access code that's listed. And that brings up all of the exercises. There are videos. You can print them out, I believe. But if you have any issues with it, just let me know. And that is the end of my balance presentation. So if you guys have any questions.
Oh, we sure do have some questions,
Okay.
Colleen.
I'm ready. I'll do my best.
Okay, the first one is, what about toe strength, foot muscle strength, and footwear?
Yes. So interesting. I saw a video when I was researching some of this stuff about footwear. And I know the Hokas are really popular right now. They have the very large cushion, which feels good when you're walking. Hokas do tend to tip you forward a little bit, I think. It depends on what kind you have. So they say that the less cushioning can sometimes be better to prevent falls. The more cushioning you have, just think about that's the less sensation you have between the bottom of your foot and the ground. So having, a thinner shoe, you obviously you still need arch support. People need arch supports. Um, but having less cushioning sometimes is better. Um, so I'm not an expert in footwear, but I know there's a lot of like Feet Fleet, they'll do different scans of your feet. There's a new running store on Main Street in Hamilton that looked like they had some kind of a foot scanner that they'll watch you walk and recommend a shoe that might be appropriate for you. But staying away from some of those really cushiony shoes might be a good idea. There's also something called the heel to heel drop, maybe in the shoe, or the heel to toe ratio, which is the distance between your heel and the floor. So it can go up to like 10 millimeters, I think. So that's something else to kind of ask a shoe person about. Like, okay, would a smaller heel drop be better for me than a higher one? The muscles in your feet and your arch are also very important. There are different toe exercises you can do, just putting a simple towel or washcloth on the ground, curling your toes against it, spreading them out, spreading them back in. There are different arch exercises you can do, keeping your feet on the ground and then just trying to lift the inside of your foot. Those are all excellent foot strengthening exercises too. And I can put a little flyer together on those as well if you want me to.
Oh, that's good. I didn't know all that about the shoe stores. Thank you.
Mhm.
Next question. What can we do to reduce the Parkinson's hump and maintain better posture?
Strength and exercise. A lot of times, if you have that Parkinson's hump, you probably also have a little bit of a forward head. Are you ever laying on your stomach? Sometimes simply laying on your stomach helps to stretch all of those anterior muscles. Standing up against the wall, trying to keep your feet back against the wall, bring your shoulders back against the wall, try to bring that head back against the wall. So it's not lifting your head up, it's bringing it back, doing that chin tuck to bring your head back. So if you think about that Parkinson's forward posture, the muscles in the back are weak. So the muscles around your shoulder blades, your upper back are weak. The muscles in the front are probably tight. So that's your pec muscles. So they're pulling you forward. So you want to get back and more upright. So doing the doorway stretches is going to help to stretch out that your upper pecs, your shoulders, bringing that head back. So anything, laying on your stomach is going to also help to stretch that out. So those things like that can help definitely.
Thank you. That's good to know. The next question is about vitamins. What about the role of vitamin deficiencies in our balance? They say we were concerned to learn that high doses of levodopa can cause depletion in vitamin B6 and vitamin B12, and that the FDA are going to put a warning on levodopa to that effect. These vitamins facilitate the rapid nerve signals between brain and body. Do you have any information on that, Colleen?
I don't know. I don't know. I would say that's out of my wheelhouse as far as the medications and the vitamins. But it's interesting that you bring that up because I don't know if anybody is familiar with Ross, but I recently stopped at a place called The Lodge, which is in Ross, and it's a holistic um, kind of therapy wellness place. And she mentioned to me that she has an individual with Parkinson's that comes in and gets vitamin C infusions and how big of a difference they have made. Now, I don't know. I haven't looked at any research about that. Something definitely, I guess, to look into. I'd never heard of that before, but I don't know. So I guess that's something to check with your doctor. You can always do a blood test and get your vitamin B levels checked And then if they're low, definitely a supplement would help with that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you. Someone says they already have a MedBridge G Go account. Is it a G Go account?
Yep, a MedBridge account. Okay.
Okay,
So,
there you go.
yep.
How can they add your exercises?
Yes. So you would have to log in and then just type in that access code. I don't know. You should be able to have more than one access code in your account. If you have any issues, feel free to give me a call and I can help talk you through it. My phone number is right up there on the top of the page. But
Mm.
I think you should be able to just type in that code and pull them up.
All right. If you'll send that to us, we can share this
Yeah,
page with
absolutely.
everybody, Colleen.
Absolutely.
The last comment I see is that Dr. Emily, and I'm not sure how you say her last name, Spill Chal, has a lot of great foot info, including footwear and exercises for toes
Nice.
and strength.
Awesome. Yeah,
So
that's great.
great
That's great.
information too.
Good. Sometimes we haven't done this in a while, but there have been times after our boxing class that we'll have everyone take their shoes and socks off and do some toe exercises and some toe stretches. And, your toes do provide a lot of feedback that you don't typically think about when you're walking. So that is important too.
Are there any other questions for Colleen?
Yes, I have one. I was starting to type it.
Okay.
I've started using, am I on? I
You
can't
are,
see.
Yes,
you
you
Okay.
are,
are.
I can
you
see you.
are,
I'm
Meg.
using these night lights.
Uh-huh.
They're motion sensor and they're rechargeable. And you can carry it. Like I put one on my walker and in the middle of the night it goes off. If I get up to go to the bathroom, I carry it with me. And
Nice.
then voila, or you can put it under cabinets and in closets and places where you don't have electric. And they've got magnets on the back and then the peel and stick. So you can peel and stick and use it or not. But they're pretty lightweight and like three in a pack for $10 or something. But I'm just finding more and more uses. And they also have settings that they will only go off in the dark. See, they're not going to go off I mean, now it's on in the daytime, but I can set it that it will only go off in the dark at night.
Very nice.
So, I think they're good for a lot of things.
Mhm. Yeah,
I
that's a
have
great
a,
idea. Great tip.
I have a question. I'm having trouble with my walk and chew gum at the same time, left, right. It's like I'm repathing my muscle. My mind doesn't. I want to lift my left dead bug. I want to lift my left knee and right arm.
Hmm.
And the two muscle groups working at the same time is generating some confusion to me because it just doesn't seem to work the same way it used to.
That's very typical with people with Parkinson's. Our typical gait is that you have that reciprocal arm swing. So when your right foot steps forward, your left arm steps forward, and then opposite. And that helps you to maintain your balance. So with Parkinson's, as you lose that, you have to focus more on the awareness and the intent and really concentrating, practicing. So, all these things were automatic. You never had to think about it before. But now with that lack of dopamine, you do have to think about it. So some people even have to think about hitting their heel first when they're walking, because they've lost that proprioception, that sensation. So a lot of times we'll use, like we may have someone walking in front of someone else and they each have a stick in each hand. And so as the person behind you is walking, you're in front of them, they're helping you to swing your arms to get that motion back. So just retraining, keep practicing. The more you do it, the better. It's like it's like you're training your brain. It's those neural pathways that you're trying to get back in touch with each other. So think about,
Exactly.
if you're taking a hike and you're walking through grass or whatever, the first time you do it, there's a lot of grass, a lot of weeds, it's not a clear path. The more you do it, the more you take that same path, the more those weeds get beaten down, right? And the path becomes a little bit flatter, a little bit clearer, a little bit more noticeable to someone walking that path. So you have to think about it that way. It's neuroplasticity. It's doing it over and over and over again to retrain your brain.
I've been taking Tai Chi and everybody goes around in unison, and I tend to like wonder why my leg isn't working the same way theirs is. And I end up cutting across, and I'm picking it up, but I almost have to re-educate myself, and I move a lot slower at 1st, which is okay.
That's okay. That's okay. You're doing it, which is the important thing. Keep doing it. If you move a little bit slower, that's okay. If you have to modify things, that's okay. As long as you're doing it, and Tai Chi is excellent for balance and those purposeful movements.
Yeah, that's what it is. Thank
And
you.
doing it with intent, a lot of intent, really thinking about it.
Well, those are great questions and great learning.
Yeah.
Great learning. Thank you so much, Colleen, for
You're
bringing
welcome.
up this subject. I learned quite a lot now. I'm not going to let Rich walk behind his walker anymore. You'll have to walk with it.
Yes,
Yeah.
keep it inside your base of support so your center of gravity does not go outside.
If
Well,
I
now
had
I have
a,
a good reason why.
Yeah, and it's hard. It is hard when you start the small steps or the freezing, and the walker keeps going, but your feet don't want to move. The best thing you can do when that happens is to stop. Just stop. Put your heels down on the ground, take a deep breath, bring the walker back to you so that it's closer to your center of gravity. And then, a lot of times counting, okay, I'm going to take a big step on 3. 1, 2, 3, you take a big step. Or you think about, having the line on the floor and you're going to step over that line to take a big step. Those are all just, tricks and tips that we try to teach people. Sometimes doing a little marching movement in place. So if your heels are on the ground, you feel stuck, you feel frozen, doing that little marching motion and then say, okay, I'm going to go. And that goes for starting and stopping. It goes for going through doorways, going in small spaces, anything like that. You don't want that walker or assistive device to get too far out in front of you.
Well,
Colleen,
good.
we did get one more question,
Sure.
and we'll make this our last question because
Okay.
we are starting to lose folks as the day
Yep.
is upon
Progresses.
us.
Yeah.
The question was, I have flat feet and use arch supports. Is there anything else I can do to improve balance other than everything else you told us about?
I think everything, doing the exercise, doing, maybe Tai Chi. We have balance classes at the gym. There are lots of good videos on YouTube as far as like the Parkinson's and balance. Anything like that will be helpful. If you've got good arch supports, that's great. Just keep on exercising. And working on reaction time and multitasking and all of those things together. If going to therapy, if you haven't had outpatient physical therapy in a while for some balance training, that's also helpful.
Sounds great. Well, thank you, Colleen, and
Thank
thanks
you.
everyone for joining us today. We have recorded this
Okay.
session. We will edit it and have it ready to go probably in about 1 week from today. You'll be able to find it on our website. The website is parkinsoncincinnati.org. And you would look up under Learning PD-EDU, and you should see a thumbnail with today's presentation. I will also take a moment for a blatant commercial. September 19th is our Steady Strides. And that's our annual community event, a walk and run, where the community gets together to celebrate each other. And it also helps us raise some money to allow us to continue to provide the programs such as today's educational program. So we would encourage you to, again, go to parkinsoncincinnati.org. Look for under moving, look for Steady Strides. Actually, you'll see this right on the home page, and you can sign up where it says run sign up. You can donate or you can volunteer, but we'd love to have you join us at the Lindner Family Tennis Center again this year, first time back in 3 or 4 years. We're going to have a great time, and Becky is in charge of weather this year, so I'm sure we'll have great weather on that Saturday morning. With that, thank everybody for giving us your Saturday morning. Thank you, Colleen. A wonderful presentation.
Very welcome.
And we will look forward to seeing folks again next month, and then also at Steady Strides in September. Thanks, everyone. Have a great Saturday.
Thanks.
Thanks, you
Bye.
too. Bye. Bye, Colleen. Thank you.
Bye. Absolutely. You're welcome.